Yo, welcome everybody. This is I'm not going to call it it's not an emergency broadcast. It's not even an urgent broadcast, but it's a timely broadcast because whether or not it's happened, the world has bought the fact that Iran has launched some drones towards Israel. And so, as is always happening in the markets, the last 48 hours of off-selling or sell-offs have been pretty monumental prior to the news being released, which means there was obviously some insider knowledge of this. It was very clear what was going on. Bitcoin's been hit hard, but altcoins have been really hit. So it feels like there's a deleveraging going on in the market where, you know, altcoins are seen as risky plays. So when it's risk on, people play the altcoins. When it's risk off in a time like this, people pull all their money out of altcoins, and it looks like that's what's happened. It's pretty brutal. A lot of altcoins down significantly. I think ultimately the altcoins with utility will survive. The ones without utility will struggle. But at the same time, there's a whole shitcoin thing going on now with memes and racist coins. And we've got Bitcoin shitcoins about to come out with runes. So there's going to be a whole flood of new money coming into there, I assume, even if this is all going on. But yeah, we're in an interesting place right now. Looks like we're in a time of war. Looks like the world's about to fundamentally change again for the fourth time in 4 years. So we just thought we'd have a quick chat about what that looks like and what we think is going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, how it happens, I have no idea in terms of like how we get there, but I've always known that we're about to see some really, really rough, crazy times. We'll be in a Mad Max world. I've been saying this for a while now. So I'm not saying I'm surprised. It's going to get worse in terms of world turmoil. There's going to be a bunch of land grabs. This is the time where everyone's off guard and people are going to start throwing punches. And there used to be referees, and now there's not enough referees. And when people realize there's not enough referees, they're going to be more riskier. Because there's internal conflicts in the world that are just ancient, and they've been held off because there's been quote-unquote referees. But it's not going to be like, in my opinion, the world war of old. This is going to be like a scramble. It's going to be pockets of wars continuously. Structural collapses, a lot of corruption is going to come out. A lot of people are going to be poorer than they've ever been, so there's going to be an uprising. They're going to try to do the UBI, but they haven't been able to roll it out quick enough. I think we've seen that they are ahead of themselves. They were definitely ahead of themselves. They rushed the whole COVID bullshit. They rushed their agenda. It was sloppy. A lot of people saw through it. Even diehard believers now regret getting it. They understand like it should not have been forced. Now they're trying to say like they didn't force people, like they weren't going to quit their job. So like it was all rushed. So whatever's happening is coming out quicker, escalating quickly. I think in terms of assets, they want you to be poor. So like the rich people who can move markets aren't going to be like, oh, let me panic sell for a loss or whatever. Like the amount of money to move these markets is insane. The only reason it would drop unelegantly and crazy like is to get you to sell and to get you to sell your assets. Because really, they don't want you to be rich. They want you, like I've always said, Bitcoin's going to 1 million, but you won't be holding it when it hits 1 million. And when I say you, I see the general public, because they're going to sell when it gets violent, and there will be violent dips. It's not going to be straight up. So whatever's happening today is just the beginning. It's going to get a lot rockier too. Like they will fucking strangle you out of your assets. That's for sure. They'll make it volatile. But they also have to keep it alive. They need it. So I think the shakes and the opportunities we have now will be more violent, but they're going to be more temporary. They need to keep the casino going. They need to keep the minds distracted, right? They don't want people knowing the truth.
There's a lot of that going on here. It's like we have quite a skeptical view on the world. It's pessimistic. It's not pessimistic. It's what's the world? I mean, it's skeptical, right? So it's like just assume that instead of thinking, oh, we've got to look at the news and believe all the endless coincidences in the media, why don't we just flip this around and be like, there's a group of people on top and they're trying to steal all your money. And they really do control everything. And there's about 20 levels below them, there's the countries. And those countries are pitted, they maybe not be working in tandem, but they're pitted against each other by the people on top. And they eventually get them corralled into a position where they want them, and the countries behave in the way that the people on top want. And that just ultimately results in the extraction
They
of wealth
openly
from the
brag
masses.
about it. The WEF openly brags about how they take over countries.
Yeah, I mean, infiltrate, what do they say?
And they laugh at
Penetrate
you.
the cabinets.
And it made the most ugly, fucking despicable human. It's Hollywood. It's a fucking movie.
It's a movie, and it's playing out right in front of you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just reading the news here. It says UK. Did it say UK? I think it did say UK. Hold on. Breaking news: UK and US fighter jets are now intercepting Iranian drones over Syria and Jordan.
Yeah, that's not good.
Which is weird to me because I'm not even sure if they got permission to do that shit over Syria.
Well, I'm not saying it's not good. Like, the fact that it's escalating.
But you know, they've been talking about getting Iran to war. Remember this like 15 years ago? There was a Council of Foreign Relations think tank guys sitting there talking about how do we get Iran to war? You know, we need to do this and this. It's all recorded. It's all out there. Like 15 years ago, they're trying to get Iran to war. So they finally got Iran to attack, right? Assuming that's what's actually happened. This might be a completely false flag. It might be completely, you know, it might be launched from Iraq, right? By US forces, by ISIS forces that are all funded by US, right? Who knows? It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. The fact is they've got the news cycle going now where it's Iran's attacked Israel and we've got to defend Israel to the end. So we've got UK and US fighter jets intercepting Iranian drones apparently over Jordan and Syria right now. So it's like, this is exactly what they wanted. They've been after it for years and years. They want Iran to attack, even if Iran never attacked. It doesn't matter anymore. They've got the news story.
The thing about power is that, so if we think of how power works, the more powerful you become, the less control you get because you're controlling more area. So I wouldn't say less control, the harder it gets.
Your influence.
It becomes exponentially more hard to control the higher up you are. So what we do know is power converges. The most powerful will come together, and there's usually 2 or 3. And the reason for that is because bad people can never trust each other and they always backstab each other. So there might be one in absolute power for pockets of time, but there's always going to be the underling that has enough power to rival and eventually backstab or multiple backstab. So it's this recycling game. It's a natural recycle. It's just a nice natural recycling of power to ensure that evil can never predominantly exist forever, because it always kills itself at the end of the day. It gets so powerful. So what I believe is we're at that time where the most evil has gained the most power, and now like the underlings, it has too much. It can't control everything. That's why things are so chaotic now. And now you're starting to see scrappy things. You know, they may, hey, you shouldn't do that. And they're like, oh, fuck you. What are you going to do about it? I think it's that sort of tone where it's like, you know, you have this gang leader and these minority leaders have come together and they're like, you know, they don't have enough power like they used to. And that's the thing about power. Everyone wants it and there's no loyalty on that side. So like if they see an avenue, they're going to take it. So even if you come from the game of all sides are controlled and everything is a script and it's all Hollywood, even so, in theory, that person has achieved so much power, he has lost the ability to have quality control on the 20 levels below, and those still have enough power to change things. And power is fickle. It can change dramatically. So it's a very dangerous game to get that kind of power on the bad side, where on the good side, it only rises and comes to a rock and a rock. What happens on the good side is when you have good times, it gets good, and there's this solid-ass fucking rock, everything's awesome, but then times are so good that the corruption from within, from the easy times comes and erodes itself from the beginning because good trusted good, but then bad comes along, good trusts bad, bad fucks good. Bad grows stronger, gets so big, dilutes in power because it can't control anymore, collapses within itself, good becomes a rock again, builds, until times are too easy that the evil pokes its head. So right now we're at the opposite time. We're like at the time where there's that rock being formed and evil has diluted itself, and we're about to see the fallout, which is kind of exciting to me. It's like, what part of history would you want to be born in? Like, this is the craziest fucking part because it's the most important.
Well, this is interesting, right? Because this is where you let's say, sort out the children from the adults, right? This is not going to be easy. This is going to be hard. But at the same time, if any of you have been in crypto for as long as, 14, 13 years, as some of us in the room have, you're here for a reason, right? You're not here to live a fun, happy life. You're here to change the system. And, the ideal scenario for me was always that we change the system slowly and gradually over time. But have no doubt that this war is a requirement as a result of people waking up, as a result of people managing to build their own financial systems that are outside the current financial system, outside the control of the current system. The virus is the same thing. They had to bring it out earlier than they wanted to because the pressure's on, man. You don't want to be on their side. You don't want to be on their side right now. It is stressful as fuck. Their whole system is creaking, and things like crypto builders, those people are making massive waves into this system, and it hurts a lot from their point of view. And so they need this war. They've needed this war for a long time. They've seen it coming for a long time, right? Problem is that makes it really uncomfortable for you as the crypto builder, as the freedom lover, as the freedom tool builder. They're going to make it as difficult as they can. I mean, it would be nice if we could get through this all happily and make friends with everyone and have a nice slow transition, which is the ideal. But they're not going to let that happen. Who do we think we are? Don't be naive about it. These guys are going to try and break us. And so the way that they break us is by putting our lives through hell. And they're going to try and do that with this war, in my opinion. And it's a perfect scenario for them. But it means that we're winning, in my opinion. And it means that things are going to change. And it might mean that we go through a few years of hardship here. But the key is to keep building, keep building, keep building. Because what are we building? Forget these freaking regulatable chains. Forget these ICO chains, man. What the fuck are you guys doing still building on ICO chains? Get away from them. They're regulated. They're part of the system. Build on chains that are actual parallel economies. They exist on their own. They exist in their own right. And we can create our own parallel economies that cannot be shut down, and we can exist outside of their influence, right? That's the key here. You have to be able to exist outside of their influence, outside the influence of their wars, outside the influence of their economies, with tools that you genuinely have freedom to transact in, freedom to build your own societies, your own economies, and your own communities. That's where we win this war, and we have to just keep building towards that. Yeah. And what I say this war, like, yeah, okay, you've got the World War III starting at the moment, but the real world war that's going on is the sovereignty movement, digital sovereignty. That's what the real war's about. Have no false illusion about that, and we are winning that war. And it's going to take time, it's going to be hard, but we have the tools, the time, and the perfect conditions to win. And not only to win, I feel like we can make them win as well. The power brokers that currently exist, the tools are there to help them win too. Maybe not in the way they want to win, but in a diplomatic way that saves them face. And so we can achieve win-win scenarios for everyone here, and let's just keep building.
I'm not so much religious in terms of, I know there's good and evil, and I believe evil has to exist because good exists. So you're always just going to have evil. So we've always been enslaved, like forever. Our whole history of humanity, and who knows what our history used to be. That's just how we just know pockets of what they tell us. We haven't had a truth table. We haven't had a place to actually preserve data that can't be corrupted or manipulated in a fact-checkable way by every human. But their goal, they've always had a problem, or maybe we've done this before. Let's assume they haven't done this before, and let's assume this is the first time we've had a digital age, and they're saying, hey, how do we enslave everyone? Because like building banks and shit, man, it's too goddamn slow. We're not in Africa. It's taking too goddamn long. We need to make it to where we need technology that can reach everywhere. The digital age. That's how you enslave everyone. We can enslave every human in the world because we can easily tap into their phone. You got things like Starlink, send a satellite in the sky, you get internet everywhere. And now it's like you control people through their phones, you give them a centralized UBI stablecoin, and you effectively control billions and billions of people. And you no longer need an army because these people will fight tooth and nail to save. Because once people live off UBI enough, if you cut them off, it's like cutting off their food source. So that we're in, that's what I don't, so I wake up and I'm an eternal optimist. and I love a hard game, and I enjoy the thrill. I'm somebody who would have been in the 300 knowing I'm going to lose, but having fun fighting and dying. I feel like I'm in that type of situation. I feel like we're up against a force that's so massive that it's like you have to just enjoy the challenge of what's about to happen and rise to it.
You got to rise to it. You got to rise to it.
Because they're bringing the technology. Dude, don't tell me this is a goddamn coincidence. Everything's going to shit. No trust in institutions, no trust in banking. Banking has failed to reach Africa no matter how hard they try. There's always this bickering. And now there's this lightning centralized technology that can send a pennyware instantly in the world. You don't need banks. You don't need to hire anybody. You just need a fucking centralized node. That's it. That's all you need. That just so happens to exist at the same time. And it's like, what can that do in theory if you're an evil person? Well, that means you can enslave everybody with your UBI. We saw it in El Salvador. They tried. This is test running. They're like, let's give them free shit when it happens. And they spent it for stables. And now what? Immediately after that, you have Peter McCormick and all these big maxis saying, and I'm not saying he's in on it. I'm just saying it's natural way these people are going to think anyway.
It's just a lot of coincidences.
It's like centralized stablecoin on the Lightning Network, and now you get the UBI to that. So we don't want to get to a point where, right now we're at a point where there's a lot of people who they value their dignity. And they're being crushed so bad that they're having to sacrifice their dignity to survive and protect their family. And once you sacrifice your dignity long enough, you no longer have dignity and you're removed from it and you become non-human. And that's what they want to do with this UBI. They're crushing the middle class, offer you a way out with UBI, where there just so happens to be a protocol that preserves your dignity, where you can earn value for value. So there's two models going right now. There's the tyranny, evil model that wants to give you things for free so you can sit on your ass and do nothing, and it'll reach every crevice of the fucking corner, and $30 goes a long goddamn way to a lot of people, 90% of the world, 99% of the world, really, especially what's coming up. And they want to do that versus the provide value and earn for your side. So I believe we're at a time where people have not lost dignity enough. Like, if you give them a way out, they're like, look, I'll work for my goddamn money. Fuck this government. Because what's going to happen is you're going to be like, fuck this place, but I need the damn money. What happened with the COVID shot? There's a guy holding up a sign saying, I'm doing this under duress to provide for my family. He's basically saying, fuck you, but I have to fucking feed my family. What's going to happen with UBI? It's happening.
Steroids.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what's if it can happen, it will happen. So if you're in a situation where you can be fucked in that way, you will be. It's just that simple. That's the mathematics of the situation. And we have an out. We have a technology. We didn't fucking invented it. We discovered it. It's a fundamental discovery of how to achieve value out of thin air, preserve freedom of speech, and mimic everything the evil forces have built. Because the good thing about evil forces is they build cool shit. They build phones that censor you. They build fucking the craziest badass tech. And you can just fucking mimic that shit and use it against them. And it's like, hey, they can listen on. It doesn't fucking matter because you can't stop it. You can try to take out who are this. You can try to silence the message. But the use case is spreading like a virus. And there's enough people who are saying, fuck you. And there's going to be what I call the Justin Sun Squeeze. You might not, that's privy inside information if you don't know that, but one day you might hear about it. It's the last wringing of the towel. You know, the towel is just a little bit of water left. You wring it up. That's what they're doing right now. And they're going to do it and see what happens. I'm like, what are they going to do? And that's when the real patriots are going to step up and they're going to be like, fuck you, in a big way. And they're going to find the discovery of fire, the freedom.
Let's be clear on this, right? To simplify this message, you've got to be running freedom tools, right? What are they? That's, like Dan was saying, you can mimic the same technology that they're building. We've already done it with loads of things. All the social media is already mimicked. A lot of the other stuff's already mimicked. But the key is, what's the key? The key is it being run on your infrastructure or their infrastructure, right? Who's running the infrastructure? Is the community running the infrastructure? Then it's freedom tools. So you could even have UBI, as long as it's running the community's infrastructure and it guarantees the rights of everyone. If the UBI is running the infrastructure of the government, you're damn sure you're a slave. If it's running the infrastructure of the community, you're free, right? Because you're always going to get that UBI no matter what. Whereas if it's running the government's infrastructure, you got to watch what you say, right? Same shit with the freedom dollar, right? Anywhere you can find a non-KYCable, non-custodial stablecoin that you can earn from an autonomous layer, that you can earn for doing valuable things for a community, that then you can go spend. You've just created a parallel economy. You are now using economies that are outside of their control. That's the real war here. The real war is who can transfer a stable unit of value that is not censorable, right? The current stable unit of value we use is in their system. It's called the US dollar, right? You can create equivalent US dollars outside of their system, yeah? And you can do it on, as long as the infrastructure is controlled by the community, you can have a completely separate parallel economy. That's how we fight these wars. You don't need to hold guns. You don't need to fight people. You fight the system by creating its equivalent with it being run on the community infrastructure, not on centralized corporate infrastructure like the current system has. That's how you fight this war. All of this other stuff that's going on, stuff with Israel, Iran, it's a smokescreen to keep your attention over there. Your attention needs to be on fighting this war by using freedom tools, by using non-KYCable, non-custodial stablecoins, by using social media, uncensorable social media and technology that is run on infrastructure that's run by the community. That's the key here, because now you're creating a parallel universe, a parallel world on their planet, and eventually that parallel world will take their planet back. So, right? That's all we got to keep doing. And if you've been doing that until now and not realizing, great, but you've got to realize this is crunch time now. They're starting this hot. This is a hot war now, yeah? There's no messing around here. This is time. You are, if you know this technology but you don't, you're just using it for fun, you are in a war, and you always have been. You're a soldier in a war. It's a peaceful war, hopefully. Well, for most of us, hopefully. But the key is that you can use community-driven infrastructure and community-driven stable coins that they cannot seize, that you can earn from protocols autonomously, that can be distributed around the world without them being able to control it. And that is a massive counter to their system, and it prevents them from doing these wars in the future. And that's what we've got to be using, man. Yeah. You're all soldiers in this war.
So the protocol, it's almost a riddle. The protocol that wins, or whatever you want to call it, the technology in the digital era that wins, is there's no competing. There's no such thing as competing, because once you're competing, you have friction. Like, to say Bitcoin is going to replace the dollar as the measurement, the unit of account, is silly. The dollar is a measurement. It is a measurement humans created, and nobody has a monopoly over that measurement. Anyone can come to that measurement any way they fucking want to, and you have to be able to come to that measurement without the need of a centralized party. That's one of the math equations, the goals to come to. So how do you defeat a monster so big it can stomp on you? The only answer is to use that monster against itself. Power is not real. And we prove that by saying, okay, your power is not real, and I'm going to prove it to you because I'm going to mimic your asset using a bunch of humans, and now you can't seize it. Yeah. We have power, you have power, ha ha ha, we're playing your game. Your dollar is not backed by anything, it's backed by violence. We're just going to make it in a way where enough humans have it distributed that you can't seize it. So it's like a ha-ha. Elon Musk said something really funny. Whatever you think of him, of course I think he's some kind of actor and all of this, but he said the most likely outcome is the most entertaining. And if you're going to win in this movie, that would be the badass, like, gotcha moment when it's like, holy fuck, they actually used everything that they built against them in a judo-type move. They have this dollar measurement they create a monopoly over. We're not going to replace that. We're just going to mimic it. Thank you very much. You have this Lightning Network technology that you're going to spread all over the world, but we don't need permission because it's not a permission. We just attach to you because we're an element. Thank you very much for all the infrastructure. We're just going to tap right into that. You created a bunch of text on a page. Well, we're just going to copy that onto our mirror database that you can't take down. It is a reflection. It is a true mirror world. It's like, why we're not competing. The sun doesn't compete with the darkness. It just illuminates it, and that's it. There's no question about it. The mirror world doesn't compete with the physical world. It's like it reflects whatever it is, whether you like it or not. And that's the problem, is a lot of people want to censor that. They censor it. They don't want to know their real reflection. But when their real reflection shows, they're fucked. And whatever they've built is used against them. And not so much used against them, used in a way where they can't control, therefore their power diminishes. And that's the great peak. We've created, the hardest times have created the strongest men, and they found the solution, because you always find a solution. If we never found a solution, we wouldn't exist. There's been hard times. We've been trapped in corners by dinosaurs. There's been bigger apes and monsters than us, and we've always found a way as a species. No matter how hard it got, ice age, fucking poison, whatever the fuck, we've always found a way out. And now we have a new riddle in this digital age, and we found a way out, because we always will, because it wouldn't make sense if we couldn't. And that is the mirror world. We can't compete. Bitcoin's never going to be the unit account. Period. You know, it's never going to be.
Well, even if it is, it isn't happening anytime soon.
The dollar's the measurement, right? The dollar's what's going to be. Humans are too lazy to replace that. And there's no need to replace it. It's a good measurement, right? It's like, why replace the clock? Why replace anything? Like it's there. It just fucks everything else up if you don't. But what we can build is these institutions that don't rely on centralized parties. We've gotten too weak as a species. Like, talk about weak men, man. Like, this is the time of weak men. You know you're in a time of weak men because when you look up and you say, what do other men, what could they do to me? What kind of power do they have over me? Because, like, even in tribes, like, if someone just came and killed you, it's like, yeah, but you could fight, and it's a fighter's fight, and you could train every day, and yeah, you might be genetically weaker, but you know, maybe you catch a hook or something, or your boy's got your back. But, like, we're in a time where you don't have that. Like, they push a button, you're fucking toast. Your savings gone. Like, I'm not talking about killing, because that's obvious. They can do that whenever they want. Although they try not to do that because it creates martyrs. They don't want to do that. They'd rather demoralize you into becoming a slave. They probably get off on that more anyway, turning righteous men into, you know, slaves, losing their dignity and all that shit. But right now, it's like, I don't know. I forgot what I was going to say with that.
Depersonalizing is more powerful than killing.
Yeah, it's more powerful than killing. So that's in the time where I talk about time of weak men. What can they do to us, man? They can erase our history and change it for whatever they want. They can stop our transfer of value. So you work your whole life. You convert your time into measurements of value so you can preserve that and spend it or give it to your kids. They can take that away from you. They can take your kids away. They can teach your kids poison. They feed you poison. Like, what aren't they doing to you? Like, there is no limit for these people. Like, what do they got to do to you before you're like, okay, that's enough? I don't understand. Is it so bad that they mentally block it out? But it's like, for me, a long time ago when I realized, okay, that was the line. I've been working on a solution. One person, I could work harder. I'm a human. But, like, come on. You have to be like, in your head, at least say, hey, there's a positive outcome here. There's a game theory way where we can win. You can't live in a world where you don't at least have that, because then it's like you have nothing to fight for. It's like, even if you're a small army versus a big army, you think down, you're like, maybe we can fucking win this, or at least go out with some dignity, not just fucking bend the knee and die anyway. But there's a more than optimal path, because we can mirror everything they've done. We're more powerful than them. The more powerful they are, the more powerful we become. It's the exact same thing. So
let me come in, give you a chance to think about this going forward, right? I think let's bring an end to this after this set of
I need to work out.
items from me and Dan. Look at what they do, right? They censor our history. We can use blockchain technology on neutral layers with no ICOs to preserve history. Right? That's clear now. You find a text-based blockchain that stores text perfectly. You can store your text stories on there. You can store history on there. You get reputed members and experts on there, and they'll store the right history for you. You get an accurate record of history. They censor our social media accounts. You get a social media text storage blockchain that has the social media accounts on the base layer. Those accounts can't be deleted anymore. It's over, right? We're now in a different paradigm where they cannot delete our social media accounts anymore, because of blockchain technology. They censor our transactions. They can't censor our transactions on blockchain technology. That paradigm is over. It's gone. Yeah? Community, lists of community members. Who's in your communities on Facebook? Can that be deleted? Of course it can. On blockchain technology, it can't be deleted. Your community is yours, and it ever grows. You know? These things are now immutable characteristics. And then you take the next step. You can build economies on top of those communities. That's something you will never be able to do in their paradigm. They will never let you build an economy on top of your community. But in this paradigm, this new paradigm we're now in, You can build economies on top of those communities, which means those communities become nation states online, right? That's the paradigm we're really moving into. We're moving into paradigms of nation states online, and this is the system throwing its toys out of the pram, saying, no, we don't like it. Well, it's like, deal with it. This is your new paradigm. It's all of our paradigm, right? It's just that it's not televised. But that's where we're at. And the key to me is anything that they were doing before, like censorship, blocking, deleting accounts, stopping transactions, deleting history, let's do more of that. Let's do more of the opposite of that on this system, right? Where it's like, yeah, you could do it before, but you can't do it now, right? Let's do it peacefully, let's do it calmly, and let's do it diligently, and let's keep doing it. Let's keep preserving our history on these blockchains. Let's keep speaking on these blockchains. Let's keep not having our social media accounts deleted. Let's keep building communities and economies on top of those communities on these media blockchains so they can't be deleted. And just be like, this is the solution. You do that enough, eventually it becomes good and big, and they can't stop it, right? That's where I'm putting my energy. That's where I think everyone should be putting their energy.
Yeah, I think the digital era is not, people think of it as it's a natural thing. It's the evolution of the mind. One person can only think so much, but a lot of people come to conclusions that they couldn't come to before. Mm-hmm. The only problem is it's tampered with now. Having a collective space. So I think it's all natural. I think that like humans were meant to do this. This was our natural evolution. And it just so happens like we need fire to survive. In order to have a truth table, we need humans to be able to preserve the truth throughout the world. And that just so happens to be the technology that's available to us. So it's like a natural evolution of, the victor always rewrites history. But one thing they couldn't do back in the day was like destroy all the artifacts and all this shit. They tried, but there was things that were hidden and all of that. The digital age is much different, and that's why they're pushing for it so much, because they know they have absolute control. There isn't these little artifacts and all that. Like if it's on a centralized database, if you let them take over, it's out of there. You're done. They can control the history. They can do whatever they want. They can manipulate in subtle ways that you won't be able to see. So to have this natural, integrable database that can't be tampered with, and if it is tampered with, you can see how it was tampered with, is a natural evolution. It's what was wanted. It was like, this is what is needed. History has been changed enough. We cannot allow a complete dominance of what history is. So you have this natural progression to, hey, let's store text all over the world, because text is the basic element of the digital mind. It's how we communicate to one another. Yeah, there's voice, there's video, but at the end of the day, it's fancy text. Text is what matters the most. It's the brick and mortar. It is the ability to communicate. It's how we've communicated for our entire species. Text, books, writing things out. Yeah, you can talk, but it's chaotic. There's nothing more focused than writing, editing, getting your proper things down and historically documenting those where they can't be tampered with.
And by the way, this is text on distributed databases. That's the difference here, where it can't be deleted.
Yeah, it's a computer database, but distributed all over the world, and you incentivize it. That's the riddle, and we've solved it. We've solved it in a practical way.
This isn't text
we've discovered the ability, how to do it.
It's not text on Facebook's database, right? That's the key thing.
It's on a raw database that everyone's incentivized to store.
I just want to close this up by thinking about history, right? Let's think about who we are, where we come from, right? If you think that going to war and having all these speculators move their currency from altcoins to crash the altcoin market, right? Crash the Bitcoin market, although that's going to be seen as a store of value. But this like 30, 40% drop in altcoins over the last couple of days, we trained for this, man. This is what we're born for. Do you think this is our first rodeo? We've been doing this for 10 years. Going up, crashing down, going up, crashing down. This is what we live for. We build for this, you know? So this is what we're going to take going forward. We're like hardened soldiers to this already. You think a 30% crash, 40, 50, 60% crash in the price is going to affect what we're doing? Absolutely not. We've got stable value on the base layer. That doesn't change, you know? I don't think you quite appreciate how insane that is. Insanely powerful. So we're going to keep distributing this stable coin. Our communities are going to keep distributing this stable coin. They're going to keep doing good things. They're going to keep spending into the economy. spending at local businesses and blogging about it and earning back for doing that in initiatives like Spend HBD. You know, we're going to keep installing water wells in Ghana. We're going to keep supporting fitness in Venezuela. We're going to keep supporting paying your water bills and your utility bills in Cuba and places like that, right? The whole community is going to keep doing this. You know, it's going to go on and on and on and on. It just won't stop. We're just going to keep doing good things and distributing this stable value outside of the current economy. We're going to keep remembering who we are, where we come from, how powerful we are, because we've been through so many difficult times in the past that this is just as difficult, and we'll just remember where we're from, you know? And so I'm just, yeah, all right, it's not going to be easy. It would have been nice to have a nice peaceful walk into the sunset. But that's of course not what's going to happen. Like Dan was saying, it's going to be the most interesting part of the movie. And that's what we're going into now, the most interesting part of the movie. Yep. And we're ready to embrace it, we're ready to face it head on, and we're going to just keep distributing freedom tools. Just keep doing it. Harder and harder and harder. It's going to be good fun. Any last words?
Hopefully not my last.
Well, last on this video.